Former ANC Treasurer General Mathews has written a book on his years as Mpumalanga Premier and ANC Treasurer General. Phosa details how former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi funded the ANC's election campaigns in 2009 and how the ANC was destroyed in Polokwane in 2007 and the beginning of state capture. Phosa also alleges that former President Jacob Zuma took 20 million rand from the Guptas that was meant for the party. Well, let's cross to my colleague, SABC News reporter Samkele Maseko, who has more for us. A very good afternoon to you, Samkele. It's over to you.
Indeed, Nompu. The former Treasurer General, former Premier of Mpumalanga, struggle stalwart Mathews Phosa has written this book, Mathews Phosa, Witness to Power, a political memoir by the former Treasurer General of the African National Congress, which details the ANC and the country's road to democratic dispensation, the negotiations, the underground, the UDF, ultimately his tenure as the Premier of Mpumalanga, and it further goes to how he was elected Treasurer General of the ANC and how he wrote the summary of the ANC's deliberations around 3 a.m. in the morning to recall former President Thabo Mbeki. A very good day to you, Dr. Phosa. The essence
Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, afternoon, rather. The essence of your book, your political memoirs, details your credentials, your life in exile, ultimately the road to power of the governing ANC now. How would you characterize this political memoir that you have penned down?
History has no blank spaces. I thought there were too many blank spaces, and that what was done in darkness should be exposed to the light, not for this generation, but for future generations. Many lessons to be learned from this book on how certain things must be done or not been done. If you summarize this, the essence of the book is that it tells my version of the story on how power was used, not used, and abused.
Dr. Phosa, for instance, I will go to one of the chapters in the book, Polokwane and the Recall of Mbeki. You detail how in the NEC you went to the then president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, and penned down a summary that these are overwhelming views of NEC members that former President Mbeki should be recalled. There were about 6 dissenting views of individuals that you detail in the book, like Joel Nechitenze, who was vehemently against the recall of former President Mbeki, saying he must finish his term. What made you write that particular summary and ultimately have to pull back in going to former President Mbeki, ultimately where the SG and the president went to tell the former president that he must step down?
My answer will correct some of your premises which are not correct in the question. The NEC was boiling, against Mbeki because of a number of things which are of common knowledge in the book. I list them, because after Zuma was elected in Polokwane, he began to ignore the NWC, to ignore the NEC, to act as president of the country as if there's no ruling party, to bring competitive events like the firing of Chekiselebi at the time when we were at January 8th in Attersville. There were quite a number of things which people were not happy with. And I listened to the debate for almost 5 hours. My resolution was based, it's a summary of that debate. And I said to the president, when I had already written it, but in a way in which whatever you do, it must comply with the country's constitution, and we should be able to take the world with you and the members of the ANC with us, and the nation South Africa with us. So not in an irresponsible manner, because we're not angry, we're just dealing with the problems. And of course, I went to him, I walked towards him. I said, Mr. President, do you still need Mbeki? He said, why? I said, I've got a resolution I've written to call for his recall. He said, go ahead. So I raised my hand, and then the chairman pointed me out, and I faced the NEC and I told them what I have, and I read it out, and they said, unanimously, we support. I can remember names of people who said, so there were 6. They didn't essentially oppose it. They said, he's only left for 6 months. Why are we hurrying? Basically, that was what they were saying. But the guys just said, you know what? Why should we wait for 6 months? We want to take a decision now. And they took it. I was They changed one thing where I said Zuma must go and talk to him. I said, no, Zuma is an interested party, he shouldn't. And that was correct. That the 5 of us, of the officials, should go and see him back and tell him. 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning, I got a call from Comrade who said, no, you don't have to be there, all of you. He'll go with Comrade Khalema. We were going to go. It was not that was going to stop me from going.
Then you detail how the party was destroyed in that Polokwane conference. What makes you say the ANC was destroyed in Polokwane, where you were elected as a Treasurer General of the party, taking over from the late Minding Simam?
We all take responsibility for Polokwane. There's no one who can be individualized here. All of us take responsibility for Polokwane. In the build-up to Polokwane, there were a lot of things, the email stories. Zuma was released from his duties. And then there was this NGC in Pretoria where Zuma's people came with T-shirts. I mean, there was a lot of street fighting in the ANC. And you knew that the contest between Zuma and Thabo will create a permanent split in the party. It was very clear. It was almost equal blocks contesting. You will not tell easily which one is going to win. And that is the recipe for a split, a big split in the party, which never existed between the two individuals. And indeed, that split, it slaughtered the ANC and we buried it there. It never recovered from that split.
Interesting. Let's get to governance issues now. Libya, the Libyan connection.
Yes.
Your trip to Libya with the then president of the ANC before he took over as president of the country, and where you supposedly found the nephew of former President Jacob Zuma already in a meeting saying that he represents Denel. That would be Kulubuse Zuma. What happened?
I don't think you read the book properly. I suggest you read it properly. I never talked to him about why he was there. No. I never asked him. No. What I'm recording is what came out later. Let's talk about Libya. May the spirit of Muammar Gaddafi live long. He was just like an uncle to me. I had many visits to Libya, many. He would call me and say, Mathews, I want to consult you on this issue affecting Africa. I want you to convey a message to our president. He said, fly here. I'll take a jet and fly to Libya, and he'll pay for it. So it's not one visit to Zambia, to Libya. I recorded that incident where I first met him, where he offered me a cup of camel milk. And I had been warned by the ambassador Zubaydah that he would do that. And then camel makes one stomach run. I didn't know. He said, don't drink it. Just tell him you're not going to drink it because you're worried about what the effect will have on your body. So Gaddafi offered me, just testing my understanding of what he's giving me. I said, Comrade Leader, let's leave this milk. I'm not going to drink it.
Let's go to this point where I raised the issue of Kulubuse Zuma. In your book, you say, to my surprise, I found his nephew, Kulubuse Zuma, in the room. Kulubuse was not on the flight with us, so his presence was unexpected. During a subsequent visit, I learned that Kulubuse had met with one of General Rahman, with whom he was whom he was negotiating a possible defense contracts between South Africa and Libya. Talk in Tripoli at that stage was that Kulubuse represents state-owned arms manufacturer Denel and the South African government in the discussions. So I read the book.
You don't understand the paragraph. Okay. I said I met him in a room. It's the hotel room of Zuma, not where we're with Gaddafi.
Okay.
So that's why you don't understand. I feel sorry for you. You must read close to what I'm writing there. I'm very careful and I choose my words carefully in my writing. No, not in the meeting with Gaddafi. In his brother's room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then why do you allege in the book that you had heard that he was negotiating contracts if there had been no credence or substantive evidence to that particular matter?
Listen, I was very connected in Libya. I knew what was going on there, even before the uprising started. And during the uprising, I was the only African who was liaising between Arab League and Gaddafi. Was liaising between the Libyan fighting forces and Gaddafi. And then I'll report to my president, and he'll report to the African Union. I was the only one shuttling between UAE and here. So what do you expect? I knew a lot.
Did Muammar Gaddafi fund the ANC campaign in 2009?
Many times he funded, even before my time. Give him credit. The ANC was raising money all over. Why do you single out Gaddafi? Many heads of states funded the ANC, and there's no shame with that. We also funded other parties in Africa, but they asked for funding, you know. So what is new about that? Gaddafi just did what many others did. May his soul rest in peace.
Then when we come to this point on chapter 11, the Guptas, the allegations that you also say that former President Zuma, when you met with the Guptas seeking donations for the ANC, they had said 20 million had already given to the president of the ANC. What transpired, particularly around the fundraising of the party at that time, where all manner of allegations surfaced that ANC leaders were pocketing ANC monies that were meant for the party, not only at a national level, but from a regional, provincial, and ultimately at a national level?
I don't know those allegations. In my book, I'm dealing with a specific encounter with Tony Gupta. And let's not sweep that all over the ANC to smear it or smear its leaders. I need to defend these innocent leaders on this issue. I said to Tony in Durban, I'm raising money for the ANC. Please give me some money. He laughed at me and said, Chief, forget. We gave Baba 20 million. I never asked Baba whether or not that is true, but that's what he told me in my face. So I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth. Whether you like the truth or not. And I saw one of the newspapers twisted it and said, I said Zuma got 20 million and pocketed it. Read my book. There's no such a thing.
Then where did the money that Tony Gupta says he had already given your president 20 million to, did you ever receive it as the?
But I never received it. That's why I was asking money from him. Obviously, if I received it, I would not ask him for money. I would have told him, Tony, thank you for the 20 million. But I didn't receive it. So I don't know what time he gave it to Zuma. Zuma is entitled to deny that Tony gave him the money, logically speaking. But Tony said what he said.
Then where is the money? Have you ever investigated?
No, I didn't. I as a Treasurer General had I raised a lot of money, billions. So I couldn't have been chasing 20 million. I raised billions. It's on the record in the ANC. So sure, forget about it. There was salaries paid every month, bonuses. I mean, we had big conference where Centenary routes cost 250 million. I raised all of that. I'm proud of my record as a former treasurer of the ANC.
But Mr. Phosa, I raise these issues of monies within the ANC because you look at your party today, the last time the ANC had a positive bank balance in the bank was when you handed over power as the Treasurer General in 2012 in Mangaung to Dr. Libyan Leader. Then ultimately the party took a nosedive financially. You go to the surplus that you were handed over by the late Dr. Babmindi Msimang.
I had no surplus from Msimang. You say something which is not true.
That is what the ANC record said.
No, it's not true.
Even your old former Treasurer General,
It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. There were debts in Absa, there were debts in that bank. I had to deal with those things. Let's not even go there. Mendy is not alive to dispute this. So let's respect him.
Ultimately, when you look at these allegations of these monies and what has surfaced, particularly in other provinces, where even the diagnostic report of the Secretary General, former Secretary General of the ANC, Gwede Mantashe, he speaks of these alien forms of monies within the African National Congress, the fundraising that takes place, and those monies ultimately don't get to the ANC. How can the ANC, in the advice that you give, better manage its finances going into the future?
Let me tell you, I raise money not only for head office, but for the provinces as well. And I will assess their sizes, right? And do provincial allocations of millions of rands to provinces. You know why I did that? Was to avoid provinces going to municipalities and us raising money there, raising money around tenders. I didn't want that. That's why I gave them money. You understand what I'm saying? That avoids them going around the system of governance and corrupting it. You know, I raised money for the South African Communist Party. I funded them, you know, because they could not pay for the head office and the regional offices. I thought they're an ally, let's do it. There are times when now and then I gave them some money to Kwasato as well. I had enough money to share among the alliance, and I'm happy I did all those things.
Dr. Phosa, on the advice you give here, I want to quote verbatim, and I'll state it from Ace Magashule. This question was put to the test in October 2020 when Ace Magashule, who was Secretary General of the ANC, was charged with corruption, money laundering, fraud involving tenders for removing asbestos roofing when he was the Premier of the Free State. There were calls from many quarters for Magashule to step aside, but he refused, saying that only branches that elected him could compel him to step down. One of the law firms approached me for legal advice on the matter was Phosa Lutz Attorneys, a company I formed with Yako Lutz. I also had known Yako for a long time, since I elected him on ethics at UNISA when he was a candidate attorney. Our paths crossed regularly on the commercial transactions over the years. When you look at that particular case of Ace Bahashule and how it was entrenched around the battle of support for branches and others saying that you need to bring back the ethos and the values of the ANC, hence the SG then had to step aside. Does the ANC have the necessary grit and impetus to remove this cancer that shrouds the party today?
Yes, and what the ANC should do, it should not only talk about renewing, but it must implement renewing. For example, if you take the Zonal Commission, I want to give you a context. There are many people who are mentioned in the Zonal Commission, but who were appointed straight to the cabinet. I'm saying it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. You got to generate the law enforcement to investigate the Zondo findings, and after investigating those findings and say where is crime committed or where is crime not committed. The ANC must be stringent about law enforcement against its own members. The Integrity Committee must not be a massage body. They must interrogate and then lead to charges where people are wrong. But you don't have to be vindictive in investigating cases. You must be guided by the facts. Only the facts must lead you, not your emotions or your prejudice against a comrade. Well, that's a problem for me.
Straight to the point, Dr. Phosa, do you think former President Jacob Zuma pocketed that 20 million rands from Tony Gupta?
I don't know. I've already answered you. But Tony Gupta said he gave it to him. I can't come and tell you now that what is in the book is correct. You look desperate. You want me to say what is not there.
No, I'm asking you point blank.
I don't know. I have no evidence that what he did. It's a transaction if it ever existed between him and Tony. Maybe Tony is sucking it out of the air, but that's what he said to me.
How much did the former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi fund the ANC?
I don't know before my time, but he always funded the ANC.
During the time, how much?
Now, I will not disclose.
Why not?
Because I'm sworn to secrecy.
Was it in cash? Was it EFT?
I'm not going to answer any of those questions. I'm sworn to secrecy.
Was it in cash? Was it EFT?
I'm saying I'm not going to answer that question. I'm sworn to secrecy.
There were allegations that Muammar Gaddafi's money landed themselves in a bunker in Nkandla.
I don't know anything about that. Those allegations are rubbish. I know them. Actually went to the extent of phoning the governor of the Reserve Bank of Swaziland. They just listen to me. I did some homework. I know the guy who was the governor. I said, it is alleged, because I'm a lawyer, I must be careful what I say. It is alleged that you're keeping Gaddafi's money in your reserve bank. He said to me, Mr. Phosa, they're lying. There's no such money. And in passing, I hinted to the king that there were these allegations. Of course, he denied it. So, if you read the book King Solomon's Mine, if you read it, with the lady called Kagul, with a lot of wealth which never existed, it reads like that, this thing of Libyan money. I don't know, I mean, Nkandla will not accommodate that money, seriously. I have no evidence that Nkandla carried that money. People want to settle scores with Zuma, keep making unfounded allegations against him. And we need to avoid smearing him with lies, where we have no evidence. You know, I've got no ex to grant with Zuma. And please, if you have an ex to grant with Zuma, please use the truth, not lies, or speculations, or suspicions. Not only Zuma, anyone. It's not fair to pass aspersion on Zuma without evidence. It's very unfair.
Dr. Phosa, when you look at the current politics within the country, the MK party, the Progressive Caucus in Parliament, the Government of National Unity, do you think the ANC made the right tactical choice in the Government of National Unity?
I think there's a platform for all those parties which are there in the Government of National Unity. And they have to accept that they are in the same swimming pool. They've got to swim together or drown together. I don't think I'm the one to judge the decision of the party now. But when we were asked at the beginning what we think about, for example, the ANC and the DA, I expressed myself in a particular way. That my worry is that members on the ground will not like this. And then they might further pass a harsh judgment against the ANC in the local government elections. I said so, and I stick by my word, right? My words. But it is what it is now. You have got this canoe, the others swim together or drown together.
In 30 seconds, knowing the historical context that took place, the The NGC in 2005 was very contentious. The then leadership of the ANC under Thabo Mbeki was dealt a severe blow when branches rebelled against the former president of the ANC, removing his deputy president of the country. That would be Jacob Zuma, and ultimately of the ANC, saying you can remove him in government but can't remove him in the ANC. Do you foresee the NTC rebelling against the ANC leadership on this GNU issue, noting that the branches are seemingly very unhappy?
I don't know. Only time will tell. I'm only one member of one branch. Time will tell. I'm not a prophet and I don't wish to be one. If you are one, tell us.
I'm not one, but looking at historical events, history has always has a funny way of repeating itself. I'm not saying it will repeat itself.
And history's got twists and turns. It's never a straight line.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is the former Treasurer General of the ANC with his book, Mathews Phosa, Witness to Power, a political memoir, saying he can't definitely categorically state that former President Zuma pocketed that 20 million rands from Tony Gupta to his pocket, but Tony Gupta did say he did give that money to the former president of the ANC, and confirming that the ANC was funded by former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, and he had traveled with the former president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, just before the 2009 elections, where Muammar Gaddafi had expressed and sent a word out that he would like to get closer and get to know the president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, who was going to take over the reins of power in 2009, saying that in a hotel room, he subsequently, to his surprise, found Kulubuse Zuma and allegations of negotiations of contract deals involving the South African government and arms manufacturer Danel.
Thanks very much, my colleague there, Samkele Maseko, and no doubt the politics team will be chasing up on some of the interesting allegations made in Dr. Mathews Phosa's book.